Everybody, so this guy behind me is actually my brother.
Good day.
And that's Dave. Dave runs a photography YouTube channel, and he's into all this sort of really oldie worldy photography stuff, and it's pretty awesome. So if you're stuck on digital and fancy a bit more of a crafty side of things, jump over to his channel. He does a lot of really good stuff and will teach you some interesting things about, well, all kinds of things. Now, I'm not a photographer, so I don't know jack about it. But he does want to build himself a press. I think it's an intaglio press. Because he wants to do something called photogravure. Now, none of those words mean anything to me, but that's what I'm told this is all about. So, if it means something to you and you're interested in photography, jump over to Dave's channel and have a look. But here what we're going to do is we're going to build him his press. Now, he bought some plans. They were about 28 quid, and these plans are by a guy called Doug Forsythe. So Doug Forsythe has produced this set of plans here to build this press. What Dave did was go out and collect all the bits. Now I think we live in a truly fantastic world actually when you think you can get this stuff done for you. So if you don't have the world's greatest shop with your own laser cutter and all that sort of stuff, you can just buy these services in. Now here's one side of the press cut from a 1/4 inch steel. As you can see, it's fairly complex what's being cut out, and are pretty awesome really, because this forms the basis of the press. The rest are essentially chunks of steel, the big old steel rollers, and bits of rod and bits of bar. And our job now is a bit more like a Lego set. And it's one of the things I really love about it, because you can get this stuff done for you. You can turn it into as essentially a Lego set and build the most amazing things. Now, in terms of cost, a machine like this, well made, is going to set you back maybe anywhere between £2,000 and £5,000, which is crazy money. And I wouldn't pay for such a thing, but then I don't have the use for such a thing. But if you really want it, then you're facing two options. One, shell out £5,000. Two, build it yourself. Build it yourself can save an awful lot of money. Now this core material, of which it is actually these two sides, this one and this one, cost Dave somewhere about £80 or £100, something like that. The whole setup of the material cost about £250, £300, somewhere around about that. And that gets him, plus a little bit of effort and a willing heart and a pocket full of dreams, his own press. Because Dave still would like a little bit of help from me on this, and the help from me is mostly to do with welding. Now, I have said, hey, I'll teach you how to weld, but he wants a nice job, so I don't know why he's come to me. But he wants a nice job done of it, and who wouldn't? So what we're going to do is do the little bits of welding and actually set this thing up and put the Lego set together. Dave collected the plans, had these bits cut, collected the bits and pieces, and we're essentially going to put that together into a £3,000 to £5,000 press for a couple of £100. Anyway, let's get on and do some welding. So one thing is, this is actually a flat piece. We put that on the bench. It's going to weigh several 100 million tons, so I'll just saw through the bench. Needs some feet. He hasn't got any feet. But we do have this. It's a concrete mould. If I take that apart and clean it, we'll get some nice feet out of that. And there we go, we've got our 4 feet. Now we can weld those on. I've cut all the spacer bars out that you can see here, because we're going to weld these nice clean things on as feet now, and we need it square that way. But you got to remember that when you cut this, that saw blade has a depth, and mine's 3mm. So to cut these right so that this size here and that size there is the same, you need that size minus twice the bearings plus twice the depth of the saw cut, otherwise everything will be a bit short. Because if it's a bit short, it's more of a problem than if it's a bit long. But don't forget to take account of the actual saw blade thickness when you're making a cut. Now I can square all this up and weld the feet on. So there's the frame finished actually, and apart from welding on the feet, all we really did was saw a few bits up and bolted together. So we sawed this to size, these runners to size, put some bar through it, bolted it together. These were part of Dave's pre-cut bits and pieces here, here and here, so we just bolted those on. So the frame has gone together remarkably quickly, and it's actually a really nice job. Probably mostly because a lot of this stuff was laser cut by somebody else. But the next thing we've got to do is take this ridiculously hefty roller that Dave got from a conveyor belt, I think. Not quite sure where he got it from. But we have to put that fixed here in the bottom, and there's a second roller that goes at the top, then it screws up and down, and then we've got our press. We have a press bed that goes through it. So to get that in, we need to put some bearings on. We're going to thin that out, put some bearings on, and then bolt it in here in those bearings. So these things are incredibly chunky beasts. Yeah? I know my brother got them, eBay. And it's one of those things that can mean anything. Where they came from originally, no idea. I mean, probably another kind of press. But they're pretty chunky beasts, and he was pretty lucky to get hold of them. However, there is one tiny, tiny, tiny problemette. Here are the bearings, here is the roller, and they don't fit. So we have to take this down a little bit. That in itself is pretty challenging, because obviously my lathe is a little mini lathe, and I have a massive lathe, no worries at all. But I've got a little mini lathe, and I've got to take some of that off, and I've got to make sure that it's round while I do that, and that's a huge problem. However, I have done this before, and I was thinking about doing this little trick. So let me assemble it using casters, and then we'll have a look at what I plan. So I have jury-rigged this. We're using the casters, 4 of them, to carry the actual roller, and then I put my lathe with the belt on it, so we turn the lathe on, and it will turn that roller. Then I've got an angle grinder with the flap wheel on it, and all I do is go carefully up and down there, very gradually, until we take the right amount of metal off. And there's the rollers in place. Really quite beautiful, actually. So we're approaching the end of the build. All we really need is 2 handles here and then a turn handle there, and that's it done. And for these bits, what you use are a bit of threaded bar, goes straight in there all the way through, a nut at the bottom to pull it up, and then we weld a cap on, and we've got a handle that we can turn it with. So those 4 bits will make those 2 handles. Now all we've got to do is weld them together and screw them in. So there's my raising and lowering handles, and I did put a pin all the way through there to stop that nut actually dropping out. And to put the turn handle, what we've got is this bit of bar with some threads there, and we've put some bolts on there, and we can thread those in. Once you get those in, the only thing we need to do then is lift in the bed plate, which is a great lump of steel. So we'll get these in, and then we'll lift in the bed plate. It's actually finished. Really, it's a beautiful thing, actually. So what you do, obviously says he, like I know what I'm talking about. You put your print on there, wherever it is you're doing, and then you roll it through, and it presses your print onto whatever your ground is. Now, we've only done the sort of difficult bits on how to build this, because to be honest, Doug's plans are pretty good. And he supplies you with the CAD drawings and everything. You just need to take them down to your laser cutter guy, and he'll cut all this stuff out for you, and that's all in Doug's plans as well. So it took me and my brother a day of work to do this, and mostly it was chopping these bits to size, the bits that I showed you, and a little bit of bolting things together, and that was about it really. And here we go. Here is our £5,000 press, built for a couple of £100 and a little bit of effort, and not that much effort either. It really is a thing of beauty. Hey, my brother's really pleased. He's looking forward to getting this home and getting some printing done on it, and to be honest, I think that's going to be pretty awesome. Anyway, that's how you go about building a press. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe. That is so smooth!